Browns, Eagles, joint practice 2.0 today. Yesterday, we had Ross Tucker tell us the Browns won the day. All right. He said pretty comfortably, but then maybe said, like, yeah, okay, if I had to say it's the Browns, to talk about who won the day, to talk about the rave reviews of the Browns defensive line. I guess we'll talk some Eagles, too. He's the Eagles reporter for WIP. He joins us now on the fan hotline. It's Eliot Shorr-Parks. Eliot, welcome to the show.
What's going on? Thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, another day in the circus here. I'll start with the most important question. Who won practice today, Browns or Eagles?
The Browns won the practice today against the Eagles. Now, I thought they lost yesterday, for what it's worth. So I thought the Eagles won yesterday. The Browns won today. But wherever you fall in yesterday's practice, today was much more of a clear victory than yesterday was for the Eagles. I thought the Browns absolutely, destroyed the Eagles for the later part of practice. I had the Browns starting quarterback, which was Joe Flacco, I believe, for all their first-team reps, going 9 of 13 with 4 touchdowns, including 3 touchdowns in the final team period. So, look, the Browns are not going to be very good this year, but they were certainly very impressive today.
That sounds impressive. How did Dillon Gabriel look?
I would not be putting stock in Dillon Gabriel as a future quarterback of this team if I were Browns fans. I thought he was probably better today than he was yesterday. But I'm skeptical after watching him for 2 days. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see Sanders practice. Obviously, he didn't practice the last 2 days, so I can't compare the two. But I would be pretty stunned if Sanders isn't considerably better than Dillon Gabriel.
Is it just the height, or is it more than just the height?
I mean, it's mostly the height, to be honest. And look, I'm not a tall guy myself, so I am, props to him for making it to the NFL at that size. But I've covered the Eagles for a long time, and I've seen a lot of Eagles quarterbacks. I've seen a lot of quarterbacks from other teams come in for joint practices, preseason games, all those things. He's got to be the smallest quarterback I've ever seen out on an NFL field. So, I think it's probably mostly the height is part of it. But I also thought yesterday his accuracy wasn't very good. I do think today he was better. But no, I don't think he is an NFL starting quarterback.
Now, our beat reporters locally here kept raving about the defensive line for the Browns. We're expecting big things. Obviously, Myles Garrett, 5th overall pick, Mason Graham as well. But did they look as dominant as our beat reporters are saying as well?
Yeah, the Browns defensive line was very good. Now, the Browns and Eagles have practiced in these joint practices a few times over the years. And it does seem like the Browns defensive line always has a good day against the Eagles offensive line. Myles Garrett was unbelievable. I mean, the Browns should trade him like ASAP as soon as they can. Like, it's just wasting his years on the team. But he was really, really good today. Now I will say, in the Eagles defense, not for Myles Garrett, because Myles Garrett was going up against Jordan Mailata, who is one of the best tackles in the NFL, if not the best. He's certainly in that discussion. Along the offensive line, they were missing a lot of players. Lane Johnson didn't practice today. He missed most of yesterday's practice. They were missing one of their starting guards in Landon Dickerson, and then their other starting guard, Tyler Steen, is a new starter this year. So I would take that into consideration, but no question about it. Like, Jalen Hurts was running quite a bit over the past few days.
Eliot, your QB pass charting takes social media by storm every year here. You've created an entire cottage industry. And yet yesterday, you put some Jalen Hurts stats out there. I saw a Cleveland media member doubt the accuracy. We're a fair show here. You give us your time. You give us this insight here. I want to give you time to defend the allegations of people who said your charting numbers were not right yesterday.
Yeah, so I didn't hear it or see it on Twitter, but I can say with 1,000% certainty, whoever said it is absolutely wrong. I've been charting every Eagles practice for 10 plus years at this point. So yeah, I know for a fact my stats were correct. Now, what's funny is the stats were not even good for Jalen yesterday. Now, what he might be disputing is there was an interception that was called into practice or called into question. And this is what years of experience gets you. Like, there are certainly plays where the play looks like it's over because the edge gets to the quarterback, but sometimes the quarterback will continue the play and throw it. And that's where there has to be a judgment call. So yesterday, I thought there was one interception by Jalen that it's possible people in the Cleveland media or whoever you're talking about thought it was an interception. But in my opinion, Jalen was sacked prior to throwing it. So maybe that's what he's talking about. But yeah, there are certain plays that are judgment calls.
That's a fair and balanced report there.
That is. I like
that's
that.
the way you answer the
I
question.
Like that a lot, Eliot.
Thank you.
Did Jalen speak on his interaction with Shedeur after the practice yesterday?
He did, yeah. And, it's funny because I've been covering Jalen his whole career. And as you guys know, Jalen is certainly somebody that lots of people have opinions on, whether he's a top 10 quarterback, wherever he should rank in the league. It feels like he's always talked about. And I've covered him since he was a backup Wildcat quarterback. So it is, cool to see him become a guy that other young quarterbacks around the league are looking to for advice or looking up to, however you want to put it. He said that, he will keep his conversation with Shedeur private, but, he's always there for Shedeur and he wants to help out the young quarterback. So, I don't know Shedeur, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Shedeur is like, I don't know maybe as well as you guys do, but I think it's an awesome sign for him as a person that he reached out to Jalen after practice and asked for his advice. So I know there was a lot of discussion about him pre-draft and, where he should have gone, but that interaction to me, I think is a very promising sign.
50% of our audience loved that answer and 50% of it hate it. Just so you know that, because anytime we say Shedeur, 50% love it, 50% hate it. Well,
that's crazy because I think he's easily the best thing your team has going right now. So if I was a Browns fan, I would put all my chips into him right now and pray that works out.
Can you pass that along to Kevin Stefanski the next time you talk to him?
I will, yeah. Next time they have the joint practice, I'll tell him his team won, and then I'll give him some quarterback advice.
He'd like that. He likes confidence.
Yeah, he's open to critiques.
Yeah,
and advice.
He seems to be pretty open when we do it.
Yeah, always.
All right, so I'm one of the people who think Jalen Hurts should be getting more respect after winning a Super Bowl, but it's not just about that. I watched the Super Bowl where the Eagles lost, and I thought Jalen should have been the MVP of that Super Bowl because I thought he outplayed Patrick Mahomes. So I guess I'm going to try and shoot this one right down the middle. Does Jalen Hurts, in the parlance of Russell Wilson, not cook more because he can't or because they don't need him to?
I think it's probably a combination. What's crazy about Jalen is, I know he's been in the spotlight for so much of his life, but he's only entering, I believe, his fifth year as an NFL starter. Like, he's far from a finished product as a quarterback. So I think that some of the criticism of Hurts is fair. Like, there were stretches of the season last year where he did not do a good job passing the ball. I think sometimes he can be a little trigger shy. I think sometimes, he stalls the passing game from catching rhythm because he can take a while to get rid of the ball. And that's true. But not many quarterbacks walking this earth at his age have a resume that he does. And that's not just including the NFL. That's obviously college and high school as well. So I think that he is a bit of a complicated prospect or a player, I guess I should say. But to your point, in the biggest games, he steps up. And I can't think of many games, like in his 4 years as a starter, that they've lost because of him. And I think that really says it all in terms of how good he is.
Did last year's team, did it change or alter your perception on maybe what culture is? Maybe it's already changed along the way, but the idea that, before the season, you got reports wondering after 4 years if him and Sirianni even like each other. And then we saw what happened with A.J. Brown and everything during the season. Is any of your viewpoint on culture and whether or not it basically matters to winning a title? Did that get altered at all?
Yeah, so I think to a certain degree, culture is just what your win-loss record is. Like, I've covered Eagles teams. Like in 2023, the Eagles were 10-1, and going up in those first 11 games, it was, we know how to win. This is a sign of a tough team. Look how we pull out these victories. Then they lost 6 or 7, and it's, well, actually everybody hates each other, and we have to fire the coordinator. So I think culture, for sure, when you're on a winning team, props your team up. And I do think Nick Sirianni does a really good job of building culture. I think that inside that building, they win all the time. And part of that is because of the culture. But ultimately, when it comes to culture, like, you have to win first. There's not many teams that have losing records where people rave about the culture in any sort of like honest fashion. So I think it definitely just correlates to, it's easy to have a good culture when you win.
The Sirianni stuff is really interesting, Eliot, because there was the initial press conference where it came off like a dodo. And then he's won at such a ridiculous, historic clip that has taken some of the sting out of that. But like, there were national media members calling for his job at points last year. And there are still moments where you're like, is this, what's this dude's deal? Like, he just like, I don't want to try and like paint him as a dodo, but that is the perception of him. How much does a championship change the perception of Nick Sirianni in Philly and kind of around the country?
Well, I think it definitely should. And I think at this point, if, people still question Nick, I don't know if there's anything he can do to ever change their mind. What I would say from covering Nick up close is there's a few things he does really, really well that I don't think get enough attention on the national scale. One is he is obsessive with the little details of fundamental and situational football. Like, I don't think you'll ever see the Eagles offensive play chart or Eagles offensive play design on, a Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan level where everyone's wowed by the pre-snap motion and how he got this guy open. But what you will see is the Eagles will make fewer mistakes than almost every team. They will convert in situational football. And what that results in is winning a lot of games. But the other thing I think Nick is very good at, if you want to circle back to culture, is he is not a power-hungry head coach. And because of that, he has the best GM in football on his side, and he lets that GM do his job. So is it true that Nick wins a lot of games because he has great players? Yes, but when Nick took the job, there's been a few times in Howie Roseman's career where he's been viewed as hard to work with. No one wants to, be his head coach or whatever. Nick has gotten along with Howie, and as a result, he gets a roster that allows him to win. So I think Nick is, without question, one of the top 5 head coaches in the league, and the results, are back that up.
Do they win last year without Saquon?
No, I don't think so. No, I mean, Saquon had one of the most unbelievable seasons you'll probably ever see from a running back. I mean, he got the true rushing record, which is the rushing record that includes the playoffs as well. So he has the most yards ever for a running back in a season. Obviously, we saw what he did multiple times, 200 yards, 300 yards. So, no, I think without question, they don't win it without him.
All right, this brings us to the are they contenders or pretenders as repeat contenders?
Sorry, are you asking if the Eagles are contenders?
Yeah, I asked that in the most confusing way. What do you think about the Eagles? Took me by surprise
too, Elliot. I wasn't sure.
I went Dr. Seuss, which occasionally happens with me.
No, sorry for missing that. No, I mean, the Eagles.
You don't have to apologize. It was poorly worded.
I don't think you missed anything there. I think you got it.
I thought you were going to ask about the Browns, which was maybe, but no, we
Eagles know they're not contenders.
Joint winning in joint practice is nice, but I don't know if that translates over. No, the Eagles are absolutely contenders. I mean, it's really hard to win the Super Bowl the year after. Obviously, history bears that out. And I think, there are things they'll have to deal with other teams don't. But bottom line, they probably have the best roster in the NFL. I think they almost definitely have the best offensive roster in the NFL. And I still think offense wins, in this league. So I would say they're absolutely contenders.
Eliot, great stuff, buddy. Appreciate you. Keep charting those passes, and we'll tamp down that Cleveland criticism.
All right. Sounds good. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you so much. Eliot Shorr-Parks there on the Fan Hotline, WIP Eagles reporter.